we can reframe the question, not so much what is going wrong with the global community, but where can other actors do differently to actually help progress those agendas?
You mentioned ethics of care, Fethi, and you talked about relationship and religion, and these are all interrelated, and ethics of care looks at relationships and caring about the others without forgetting about yourself. So you don't have to be selfless, and you shouldn't be selfish. So finding a balance between these two, not forgetting about your identity, core values, belonging, but also, like Mevlana Jalaluddin Rumi said, one of your feet should be at the center, whatever you belong to, your religion or your identity, but the other foot should travel among 72 different nations. So ethics of care, from an Islamic perspective, I would think that it is related to that. So you really care about the others. And ethics of care was developed, it comes from feminist philosophy, and you have this feminine idea and motherhood, compassion, that, and religions are all about that. They all talk about compassion. And and it is a departure from the Kantian philosophy, caring for the stranger, in the sense that in the Kantian philosophy, you think about the processes and every step must be moral and right and legitimate. But with care of ethics, they say, I would just look at the situation without really thinking deeply about the steps, and I would just help this stranger there because they've been dispossessed, victimized, haunted, dehumanized, etc. So this is a kind of motherly reaction, right? So you are not rational, you are not thinking about yourself and making calculations. So in international politics, you have this realpolitik in most of the times, so you do calculations. And in even religions, unfortunately, yes, they are all about transcendence and compassion and caring for the others. But when you scratch the surface, unfortunately, you see realpolitik. That's the problem there. Quran, every chapter, there are 114 chapters in Quran. Every chapter starts with Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. The most benevolent and merciful, compassionate God. But there are always exceptions. So one of the chapters doesn't start with those. Surah Al-Tawbah, right? So no Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Why? Because the chapter talks about infidels and how to smite them, how to punish them, etc. So yes, all religions talk about compassion, but when it comes to realpolitik, we find an excuse to simply get away from our rules. International order, rules-based order, yes, but where is it now? In Palestine. So it's gone. So it applies to Ukraine. It must apply to Ukraine. Of course, they've been victimized and occupied unjustly. But somehow it is not there. Civilian population are suffering. So I don't have a solution. I mean, humanity have been struggling with these issues for ages, so that's difficult. But I think we can start with self-criticism. Maybe religions also can start with self-criticism. Sometimes we think that we are very virtuous, we are nice, our religion is perfect, etc. And I am talking about my own religion, Islam, here, not criticizing others. But when you really scratch the surface, you see that sometimes we are all slaves of realpolitik, and we always find excuses and make exceptions.
Sarah?
That was beautiful. It makes me think about, the core Jewish values of tikkun olam, thinking of others, seeing the entire world, social justice, your life is not just, lived for yourself, but it's lived for the whole world. And, also, as you say, seeing the way that religions can be, texts can be taken to and used to oppress other people, and reflecting on that. I think, I'm just thinking of, the really core thing, and one of the one beautiful thing that I think is has been happening in this moment has been seeing so many groups come together in a shared sort of fight. And I was just speaking to Professor Mark Rose, who mentioned that his ancestor is William Cooper, the famous William Cooper, who fought so hard as an Aboriginal man for my ancestors, you know, for Jewish people, and who were facing persecution in Nazi Germany. And that's, you know, these sorts of relationships of standing with other oppressed groups, you know, thinking back to our own histories of persecution, you know, whether they're your direct histories, your family histories, your cultural histories, and the importance of standing with other people. And that, you know, I think, to me, that sharing in fights for justice, you know, sharing those fights are things that reminds us all of our own humanity, and that's where we can really see that, you know, that positive change. And we're seeing it, you know, I think it's been really beautiful seeing so much solidarity and people coming together in this moment from all different faiths. And although there is, you know, an attempt at you know, a political level, I think, and at like a very cynical level, to paint, you know, these sorts of conflicts as being between two peoples, as being sectarian, as, you know, as being, you know, two groups against each other. There is still, regardless, so much shared humanity and so many people coming together, and that you know, gives me some hope.
Thank you. Diane.
Yes, it's. I think it's always important to change the conversation, and, you know, rather than saying this group has. You had an amazing phrase the other day, competitive victimhood, to talk about respect and dignity for all, and that's a core value everywhere in every religion, as is hospitality. That's another core value. I think it's always important to say who is benefiting from conflict. And obviously the military-industrial complex is benefiting from this conflict. And various politicians are benefiting. So we have to be kind of wise to the game, my feeling. But the other thing is to take an analogy from Indian medicine. I lived in India for a long time, and we had two kinds of medicine. One was what they call allopathic. So that means Western medicine, where you identify the bacteria, and you get an antibiotic and you kill the bacteria, or you have surgery. And the other method of medicine was Ayurvedic. And Ayurvedic is about strengthening the good. So instead of killing the bacteria, you build the immune system so that the body automatically is able to overcome an attack by an infection. And I feel that, you know, like the process of interfaith dialogue itself is about strengthening the good. And there are many creative ways of doing that. And, you know, one of them would be to reduce inequality in the world. I think there's something like a target of 0.5% of the GDP should be spent on development goals in the wider world. And I know that Australia isn't doing it. Whatever the goal is, I know we're not doing it. If we could reduce inequality, spend less on arms, I think we would have less causes for conflict.
Thank you.